Here we go. Stand by, guys.
All right, Tuesday night, this is Talk 2. I'm Jim Rome, and we are all set to go. Got a feeling all sorts of smack for you tonight. Start things off with USA Today columnist Rudy Martzke, as we'll find out in a couple of minutes. Pretty powerful guy. Hey, Rudy, how you doing?
Good, glad to be here.
All right, good to see you. Why don't we start off first? Interesting piece in your column today about the top stories of the past year. And number one was Fox getting football away from CBS. I mean, so be it. We know about that. We don't need to worry about Bart Simpson, where he's going to show up. But what about some of the talent from CBS? Now, is it a foregone conclusion that John Madden goes to Fox? Or maybe some of these rumors about Madden teaming up with Al Michaels, could that happen at ABC?
Well, I think it's a very good possibility that could happen. The people at ABC are being very tight-lipped about it because they certainly don't want to ruffle the feathers of guys like Dan Bureau, or, who's really number two analyst out there, I feel, to John Madden. And Frank Gifford has been there for so many years. But if you're Dennis Swanson, the ABC sports president, and John Madden's now a free agent, and he's the best there is, wouldn't you take a look at him for Monday Night Football, the premier show of the NFL? And also, Madden's got the high-powered agent, Barry Frank, who's gotten some great contracts with Jim Nantz, Bob Costas he's got. So, I mean, I'm sure that Barry Frank is burning the wires, trying to, check out, all the Madden's possibilities, and I think one of them definitely is Monday Night Football.
Okay, that's Fox. We'll talk about that. Number two story, and I agree with this, CBS got scooped on the Michael Jordan story. Right underneath them, they have the whole thing. Now, before we talk about that, Pat O'Brien came on the show, and I hit him with it. Pat, what are you doing? You're right there. You're hanging out with Michael. You missed the story. And before I ask you, I want to take a look at this. O'Brien didn't like that very much.
I was there swapping baby pictures. First time I'd seen Michael since his father died. And as a human being, I was a reporter. I was up to say hi to him. He didn't tell me he was going to retire. I didn't ask him. Nor did I see when I left him any of the 500 newspaper reporters standing outside the door, who apparently all knew the story after it was out, waiting to ask him either. Everybody's working with hindsight here. I mean, I've had some of the dinosaurs who write the stuff about me say that, a print guy would have had this story. Nobody's going to have that story.
I don't know. I said to him, Pat, while you're hanging out, swapping baby pictures, the guy's announcing his retirement. I mean, is the guy right? He doesn't want to press him, or was that just a big choke job by CBS?
Well, look, that was CBS's fault. Pat's fault. Jim Gray, whom I rated as my top overall reporter for the year, was there too, and he didn't have it. What happened there was that in the Chicago Sun-Times that morning, there had been a story about that Jordan might now soon announce his retirement. In other words, people, it was out there for people to see. And I do believe that if Pat O'Brien was aware of that story, and he's in the booth with the box there with Jordan, you certainly have to ask him. So Pat's at fault there for not asking him. I mean, Pat's a good broadcaster. He just blew that one.
All right, now, also, we talked about this at the top of the show. Sporting News once a year comes out with its 100 most powerful people in sport. A couple of years ago, Rudy, you were a player, number 77. Last year, 95. This year, 100. You're hanging on. Are you? Look at that, right there, number 100. Are you losing some of that power base or what?
Well, I'm, like I said, I'm clinging, fingernails, maybe it's all my declining hairline.
Someone's stepping on your hand, though, right?
But right now, I'll still take beat. I'm one of only about 10 or 12 guys who's been on that list all 4 years. So maybe they might just change around. Who knows? Although I'm a little upset that I'm even ranking below not only David Letterman at 99, but Neil Pilson, CBS sports president, was 87. I mean, somehow Neil, who probably nobody had a worse year than Neil, he's ahead of me. So,
right.
What can I say?
In fact, why don't we talk about that, Rudy? Let's look at some of the other people that finished just ahead of you. I mean, don't feel so bad. Ted Turner, well, he had a better year, right?
Yeah, Ted
had a pretty good year.
And he's got Jane Fonda, too.
Exactly. All right, we'll give him one. Number 87. Now, you bring up Pilson. Pilson beat you out. These guys, they're barely in sports still.
Now, wait a second. Now, you guys, you get the dreaded glitch right there. It's Neal on Neil.
The dreaded glitch.
Okay, so, but that's...
Let me tell you something. If I see that in the column, there is going to be hell to pay for a producer. Yeah, there you go. Glad we put that out.
Now, here's one. Now, I've already mentioned about Pilson. I mean, look, Neil, not only did Neil lose baseball for CBS at a no-risk deal, I mean, and it's really not Neil. I'd say this. Larry Tisch at CBS, CEO. Still, the buck has to stop with him. He passed on the baseball deal, which is a no-risk thing, and then also the football deal. They were caught unawares of Fox's interest, and whereas NBC jumped in there and paid the price to stay in, which I think they should have done.
Right.
CBS didn't, and now they're on the outside looking in. It's virtually Scramble City now for their sports division. But Warren Christopher, I mean, here's a guy that's been one of our worst secretaries of state. How does he make the list?
Exactly. How did that guy make the list? So there you have it. And Letterman. You got beat out by David Letterman. What's that all about?
Okay, here's what happened. Why they put him on there, I can gather. That, remember now, this is a baseball-oriented paper, and that's fine, sporting news. But Letterman, as you know, because his show is going so well with bringing in so much money for CBS, they moved up the starting time. They canceled their let's say their pregame show for the World Series just to start Letterman's show early.
Okay, now let's talk about the column. Can you influence policy and personnel decisions?
Well, I'd like to think I can, and I probably do. But of course, the network executives aren't going to admit that publicly. But I can tell by some of their actions over the. I've been doing this column now for 11 years. Before some of our, but I mean that's what you're trying to appeal to. Okay, that's
a little higher than 7.
Oh, okay, okay. But I can tell that some of the decisions are made of maybe what I wrote, but not just me. There's some of the other TV columnists, and then when you get a preponderance of opinion, then these guys make their decisions on who to fire, who to drop. But I've been blamed by several announcers.
Well, yeah, let me put it another way. Can you ruin a career? Have you ruined a career, Rudy?
Well, Joe Brash claims I ruined his career. NBC Baseball, and I had written that Joe wasn't doing his homework anymore, and Joe got mad at me and knocked me. Hey, Jack Buck's, I'm on Jack's bad list because I wrote that he was when he was doing the CBS World Baseball that he was a radio guy and television, and I thought it was accurate there, but Jack got all mad at me, and CBS did drop him after 2 years.
Mm-hmm. How about one horror story before we go to break? What is the worst call you had to pick up from an on-air talent, or even a producer or director that was so unhappy? What was the one worst call that came into the house?
I would say Gary Bender. Actually, I made the call to him. Gary Bender, he was with CBS at the time, and he had been replaced now by Brent Musburger in his new contract on college basketball. And I called Gary and I said, "What about this?" And he says, "I blame you, Rudy." So that was a little bit tough.
That make Gabby feel pretty good, right, Rudy?
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to break right now. We're talking to USA Today columnist Rudy Martzke. When we come back, you will do the same thing. It's toll free. 1-800-98-TALK-2. I'm going to ask you something. Good. I'm going to ask you about that.
Okay, we're clear for 90 seconds, guys.
Yeah.
Focus.
What do you think of that again?
See that?
Wait, the first name or the last
Right
name?
there. Right there. Got it? Where my finger is, man. Right there. Right where my finger is.
There you go.
Did you see it?
All right, let's go to the controversy. Uh-oh, wait a minute, Rudy. This is coming out of your paper. They spelled it wrong. Dreaded glitch to the newspaper. We took that out of your paper.
Okay, look at. I mean, now that. Okay, both of us get blamed. And
Get us out of the
who's
call.
number 89 there? My own editor, Gene Policinski. He's ahead of me. My editor.
Yeah, and only 7 notches ahead of him, a misspelled word.
Yes. Okay. I'm calling my office after we get done with this and point out that they put me in a bind. I misspelling Neil's name.
Now we'll get that guy. We'll get that scrub on the phone right now.
Okay.
What is up with that? All right, covered. All right, one more thing. One guy. Now, you've racked this guy a couple of times. I'm curious. Bob Trumpy. Any phone calls with Trump?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that Trumpy, a couple weeks ago, called me. It was the toughest blistering phone call I ever got from an announcer. Upset, defending his director, John Gonzalez, on the Leon Lett play that I had, and many other writers had ripped.
Minnesota. Mike, you're on with Rudy Martzke. Hello.
Hello, how you doing, guys?
Good.
I got 2 questions for you. The first one is, Michael Wilburn from the Washington Post wrote an article saying that if he was an AP voter, he would have voted Nebraska 68 in the country. I want to know what your opinion on that is. And also, Romy, I want to know what your favorite college football team is. I'm still waiting to find that out.
All right, you got it. We'll work on that. Let's talk some college football. You're a Wyoming man. That's why you're out here, first of all.
Yeah. Well, no. Wyoming, you mean Wisconsin?
No, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay. But no, look. I think Mike, who I know very well because I live in Washington too, was too kind of Nebraska. I mean, I think they're about 72nd. Okay? And look, if they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns to Florida State, I mean, this is a joke, really. And this is why we have to have a playoff, because if the 1 versus 2, and the way these polls come out, is a 17-point spread going in.
Good. I'm glad somebody else said that, because if I hear one more coach, and every single coach we've had on this show, on the radio show, will say the same thing. Look at West Virginia, look at their record, look at Nebraska.
Guys,
Good.
I have a question and a comment. First of all, to Rudy, now that CBS has lost the contract for football, do you think Fox is going to go after a new breed of commentators or pick up some of them deadbeats from CBS?
Okay, that's a very good point, because the problem with Fox right now is that nobody's really there in charge of what they're going to pick. A guy named David Hill is going to be their president, and he's an Australian. He's back home now in Australia for the holidays. They're not going to really get themselves going until about mid-January. But there is a feeling out there that they're going to go for some younger guys. Like, for instance, maybe like Jim Rome as studio host. Who knows?
Clutch. I like it.
But I would say they should shoot for higher than that.
No. Cheap scrubbies, right ahead.
And because Jim would come too cheap anyway. Maybe Roy Firestone, who knows? But at least somebody different, because we think along the lines of Greg Gumbel, whatever. I mean, but look, I think Fox is going to do a mixture there of some new, fresh talent and some of the tried and true guys from CBS, and maybe even, let's say, an NBC guy might become loose, such as a Todd Christensen.
Who's these? Ross, you're on Talk 2 with Rudy Martzke.
Well, I got a 2-part question for Mr. Martzke. First part is why does it seem like he gives cable television a fair shake in his column? And 2, any truth to the rumor that he often rushes through his column during basketball season to make notes and picks on his rotisserie basketball team?
Whoa. You're a rotisserie geek? True?
Sure I am. USA Today's had a league now for 11 years, an NBA league, and I've won it 3 years and made it to the finals 2 other years.
And you're proud of it.
Yes, I am.
Get
Because
out of the closet.
I was an old basketball general manager in the ABA with Spirits of St. Louis. So I was with 4 teams. In fact, but this caller looks like he doesn't have enough to do. He's probably sitting around some apartment in New York and just trying to harass me. Should be out at some of New York's finer restaurants. In fact, but he is right about one thing. I do pass over a lot of HBO stuff. I think they could do it. No, I'm just kidding. They do a great job on the fights, TVKO, and we do attend to it. In fact, I'm the guy accused of, let's say, by the networks early when I was doing this column of giving too much name to ESPN, and I'd like to say that, yes, I admit to making, let's say, Chris Berman and Dick Vitale, but look where they are today.
Well, that's true. Don't call us again, scrub. I'll tell you something else, Rudy. ESPN2, you did get us in the column today. Most prophetic statement. I definitely want to thank you for that. Maybe you could share that with everybody.
Yeah, well, that was the late, great Keith Olbermann when he was, at least that's what a lot of guys say whatever happened to Keith Olbermann, but because they're watching your show more now. But here's the thing. Keith Olbermann, when ESPN2 launched, came on, and he's a very clever guy, and he said, hey, welcome to the end of our careers, okay? Which some people say, he might have been prophetic about, which,
And not some people, you, Rudy, right there in big black print in the paper. All right.
Here we go.
All right, scoping a little SoCal at night. Talking to Rudy Martzke. Rudy, one more thing. Executive of the Year, according to the Rudy's, Dick Ebersol, correct?
Yes. I mean, it really was a hands down with Dick because of all that NBC pulled off this year. I mean, they got the Olympics for '96. They got into baseball. And then one of the big things, they renewed their NBA deal, but one of the big things was, it got very tension-packed about a week ago, was CBS going to be able to steal the AFC from NBC, and NBC held them off. And you got to give Ebersol the executive here, but I think that Dennis Swanson of ABC and Steve Boynton of ESPN, who did create this network, we'll see how it comes off. But Steve was tied for second with Dennis Swanson.
All right, true or false? Ebersol, does he call you every single day just to talk smack?
Just once.
Just once a day?
I will not admit that Dick's the first call in the morning and the last call at night, as some of the other competitors say. But it is one of the two. Okay?
Rudy, why do people who make 7 figures a year, who are running corporations, take time to call you every single day?
Because I don't know.
You know what I mean? You have to think about it. I mean, you scare these people.
Well, if you do let's say a competent column. I mean, if I did a column that nobody seemed to take seriously, they wouldn't be calling. But it's not just network executives. I mean, there's like announcers, producers, as well as a lot of PR people. I mean, I stay in touch with them. And so you try to stay on top of what's going on.
Okay, let's take some more phone calls. In Mississippi, Bobby, you're on Talk 2. Bobby.
Yeah, I'm from Adrian, Missouri, not Mississippi.
Oh.
All right, talk to us.
Probably another dreaded glitch on there. Okay.
Yeah, Rudy got a great call there, and might say that the Fox Network, do you think we're a stepping stone and go after any other sports come after a contract runs out?
That's a good question.
Okay, that's the best question. Winter Olympics in Nagano, Japan. I think there's a good chance if Fox overpaid for the NFL, why wouldn't they throw another one of those type of bids in for the Winter Olympics? It gives them something for 98. There's going to be some college football available. There's going to be some other, maybe some golf or whatever it is. But they will get in and try to do what they can to create a regular sports division, not just the NFL.
Okay, let's go to South Carolina. John, you're on Talk 2.
Hey, Romy, great show.
Thanks a lot, John.
Listen, I got a question for Rudy. My question is, the salary cap ending in the NFL, do you think that is really going to put a cap on the star players, or are we going to see the extinction of the medium salary players, as we know them today?
It's funny about that we thought all the way along, because the cap was going to be, let's say, lower, maybe around $32 million, that all of these middle-level players that are, let's say, getting $500,000 to $1 million a year or more would be locked off the roster. Then when the TV deals came in much higher, and they said, hey, there's an extra $7 million for the salary cap, those players are going to be able to stick. Now you start hearing the word, no, they're still going to cut these guys too, because they're going to still go after younger and younger guys to rebuild these teams. I mean, here's the thing. I like them. After the first 2 or 3 years that he came in as a game analyst, he really matured and got serious about it, and he still kept the shtick that Terry's got, which people like, and he became the number 2 game analyst out there, I felt, to John Madden. And then CBS to keep him happy, because everybody seems to leave because Madden just stays there at CBS, or has up until now, obviously. And they put him in a studio, and he's been a big success in the studio. I think Charlie Jones, or what?
I'm sorry?
You mean Charlie Jones?
On NBC.
Yeah, Charlie Jones is on NBC. Charlie Joyner played on NBC for the Chargers, okay? Okay.
That's all right.
Keep going.
The guy who broadcast the Notre Dame Florida State.
Yeah, Charlie Jones.
Right.
Do you perceive a difference between his performance and other people? I just find the guy to be... I have trouble following the game.
What do you think, Rudy? Tell me about Charlie Jones.
Okay, look, Charlie Jones is the guy who's been around a long, long time. I mean, he's been around 30-some years. He actually did the first AFL game in 1960, okay? And he's a journeyman guy who's been a pretty good announcer over the years. And, he did make several mistakes in that Florida State Notre Dame game. I have to be there. And Charlie probably interjected himself a little bit too much, but...
Thanks a million. Good. Very good.
Bill.
Charlie Jones.
Okay, no.
Welcome to the ESPN show. Very lively. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Bill.
Come back soon. I'll see you around.